Hello learners, welcome to CBC Tekno Class Grade 7 Computer Science. I'm your trainer for today, Eboko Trevor, and I'm excited that we are starting a very exciting journey together into the world of computers. In today's lesson, we shall be covering the following. 1. Introduction to computers, whereby we shall define what a computer is. We shall differentiate between data and information. We shall give out examples of computers, characteristics of computers, and finally we shall highlight the various advantages and disadvantages of using computers. Now, to kickstart us off, we shall define what a computer is. Now, a computer is an electronic device that accepts data from a user, processes the data using given instruction, stores it and present it in a desired format. What I'm trying to say is that a computer is basically an electronic device or state device. And by state device, I said that on and off. It can be switched on and off. Now, it receives data from a user. It processes the data using the instructions that have been provided by the user. And finally, what does it do? It gives out information. A good example will be when you are told by your class teacher or your teacher to find the average of maybe 3 numbers, let's say 1, 2, 3. And your teacher maybe tells you to use what? Microsoft Excel to find the average of the 3 numbers. So when you go to the formulas tab and then you select the average function and you command the computer to do what? To find the average of the 3 numbers. Now the data, which is 1, 2, 3, those are the data in form of numbers, 1, 2, 3. 3 will be information after doing what? After the computer has done what? Has processed your raw facts and figures. Now, we've been talking about data and information. Now, somebody can ask you, what is data? Another one will go ahead and ask you, what is information? So data, these are raw facts. And raw facts, an example I gave you was the numbers 1, 2, 3. Yes. Another example can be text. Let's say you're writing a letter to maybe a friend, or you're writing an email to send to a friend. Those are what? An example of data. Data can also be in form of what? Images. A good example of an image can be what? A picture of yourself. Another thing can be, data can also be what? Audios and or videos. Now, and they are meaningless to the user. When you have random numbers, 1, 2, 3, do you really know what those numbers are unless you do what? You are given a specific information. Maybe a teacher tells you to what? To find the average, or to find the mean, or to find the median of the 3 numbers. No, the data basically are raw facts and figures that are meaningless to the what? To the user. Now, information is basically processed data that has meaning to the user. Do you get the difference between the two? Data, these are raw facts and figures that are meaningless to the user. They have no meaning. Now, information, this is processed data that has meaning to the user. A good example I gave earlier on was that when you are defining data, I was saying you have maybe a video footage that has no sound. Maybe the sound was recorded separately on a what? On a sound recorder. Now you are required to do what? To combine the video and the audio. You see, now the data is meaningless. You have a sound that is different and the video is also different. Now you have to combine the two to have one video that has both sound and video, okay, and picture, I mean. Now information will be what? Processed data. Now that video, when maybe you use another software, for example Adobe Premiere, to combine both the audio and the video together, and then it will have what? It will have meaning to the user. Now you can be able to see what? That video that has both sound and picture, okay? That is information. Another good example to distinguish between data and information is what? Like when your teacher tells you to find the average of maybe 3 numbers. 1, 2, 3 are examples of data, okay? 1, 2, 3, they have no meaning. Now, when your teacher tells you to find the average, those are the instructions that the teacher has given you. Find the average. Now, what the computer has to do is what? To find the average. Let's say you're using an example of a software like Microsoft Excel. Now, when you go on and open and maybe you type in the formulas, you go to the formulas tab and key in the formula for average, and then include the three numbers, then the average of 1, 2, 3 will be 3. Now that becomes the what? The information. Now to continue, we shall discuss the examples of computers, and one good example of computer I like to use is the what? The smartphone. A smartphone is an electronic device, okay? Usually put it on power, it charges, then when it reaches 100% you remove. So it's an electronic device, okay? Another good example for a computer is a what? A desktop computer. When you visit your principal office or your head teacher's office, you usually see a computer, or the secretary's office, you usually see a computer there at his or her service desk. And that's another good example for a computer. Another one is the laptop. Yes, I know most of you know laptops because the government of Kenya, during the reign of Uhuru Kenyatta, they introduced laptops into schools. They were green in color. We also have tablets. Yes, we had those tablets from the government of Kenya. They're also green in color. I hope you've seen them too. And if you've not, maybe ask your teacher to show you. We also have what? MacBooks. Okay? And what? PDA. Now, let's go on and look at the characteristics of computers. Now, computers are fast, okay? They perform tasks quickly. Let's use a good example of your class teacher. And your class teacher has a class of 50 students. And that class teacher has to find the total marks for each student. He also has to find the average of the total marks of the students, and also to grade the students accordingly. Now, to do such a task, if computers are not available, this teacher will be required to do hundreds, if not thousands of tasks to be able to complete that exercise. But if computers are now available, the teacher can perform that task very easily using just some built-in formulas and functions in Excel, and find the average, find the total score of the student, and also be able to to grade the students. Another characteristic of computers is that they are accurate. They produce precise or correct results when given correct inputs. They usually say that computers that garbage in, garbage out. Whatever you feed your computer is whatever will receive. So make sure when you are feeding your computer, ensure that the instructions that you are giving your computer, they are very accurate. If you give your computer wrong instructions, it will give wrong results. So computers are very accurate. And when you compare with human beings, I was giving an example of your class teacher. When he's finding your average marks, he may miss maybe by 2 marks, or maybe forget to add one of the subjects you are doing. And when he does that, you do what? He'll give you wrong results to you. Another good characteristic of computers is that they have storage. An example of storage devices in a computer, we have what? The SSD, that is the solid state drive. When you shall be handling those components of computers, I shall show you as a solid state drive. We also have what? The HDD, that is the hard disk drive, as storage devices. And we also have what? The CD, the compact disc, as a storage device in computers. We also have the what? The DVD. Now, another characteristic of computers is that they can do what? Multitasking. Multitasking, I mean that they can perform multiple tasks at the same time. Okay? I'll use an example of your smartphone or your mother's or father's phone as a good example. When your dad gives you his or her phone, and you borrowed your father's phone to do what? Whether maybe to Google something, a question that maybe you are finding difficult to answer, and then you borrow your dad's phone, and then you are Googling, maybe there's a question you're Googling online, but you decide to do what? As I Google this question, let me play music. Now you see, you are Googling a question online, and at the same time you're doing what? You're listening to music. Now computers can do what? Can do multitasking. Computers are also reliable. That is, they can operate for long hours without fatigue. As long as the computer is powered on and everything is running smoothly, computers can run on even for days, even years. As long as everything is okay and they are not overheating, computers can do what? Can continue performing the same results to the same task and giving the same results without getting tired. Another characteristic of computers is that they are versatile. That is, they can perform a variety of tasks. And finally, another good characteristic of computers is that they are automation. That is, they can operate with minimum human intervention. When you feed in the computer whichever instruction or whichever task you want the computer to do, it will do that and it will output the same results, the same way, the same time, based on the instruction you've given your computer to perform. Now, let's move on, learners, and look at the advantages of using computers. Now, one good advantage of using computers is that they are faster. From the characteristics of computers, learners, you can be able to derive what? The advantages of using computers, okay? Now, computers are fast and process data faster than human beings. I'll just go through them one by one because we've already discussed that in under characteristics of computers. 2, computers keep data and information secure. 3, computers are able to perform different types of jobs at the same time, whereby we're talking about versatility. A computer is reliable because it constantly does what it's supposed to do. Computers have a very big storage capacity and can store data and information for a very long time. Now, learners, we shall pass by through this and try to understand them. And if you have any question regarding advantages of using computers, you can comment in the comment section. I'll get back to you. Now, let's look at disadvantages of using computers. 1, computers can lead to what? Job loss due to what? Automation. Yes, this is true. We talked about computers being able to do what? To perform so many tasks at the same time without getting tired. You know, when a business owner hears of such kind of things whereby a computer can perform tasks without getting tired, you see, without even any human intervention, they do what? They'll opt to do what? To automate their systems, okay? Whereby maybe a task that was requiring 50 people, only a computer and only one computer can do that. What will your boss do? He'll decide to do what? You know what? I don't need to have 50 people to run this company. I only need the computers and maybe one person to do what? To manage that computer. And by doing that, it has led to what? Job loss. 2, it may cause health issues with prolonged use. Prolonged use of or prolonged exposure to computer screen or monitor can lead to what? Health issues. You may find that you start complaining of eyesight problems. 3, computers can be expensive to purchase and maintain. Yes, computers are very expensive to purchase. If they were cheap, most of you will be having them right now. Maybe you will be having them in your homes. So computers are very expensive to purchase and to maintain. 3, cybersecurity threats such as hacking. Yes, computers are prone to hacking by cyber criminals. An example of cyber criminals are the black hat hackers. We shall be discussing this in the later series of the lessons. And then another disadvantage about computers that they do what? They cause environmental pollution due to what? Electronic waste. Yes. When a computer has been damaged, what do? It's thrown away. Now when you throw away a computer, maybe let's say motherboard, okay? It cannot rot, okay? But what will that do? To lead to what? The pollution of environment. Now, learners, that's the end of our lesson today. And in summary, I want you to define the following: what a computer is. We will also give one example of data and information. We will name 3 characteristics of a computer, and then we list advantages and disadvantages of using computers. And that is the end of our lesson today. And in our next lesson, we shall cover the following: 1, evolution of computers; 2, computer generations; and then finally we shall look at the characteristics of the various computer generations, that is from the 1st generation to the 5th generation. Thank you very much, and I'm really happy that we shall be part of the journey together. Bye bye.